morning, I'd like to introduce Rachel Vaughan, who's from the Kaikoura District Council. Rachel has a degree in environmental science and is an accredited associate of the International Natural Step program. She's a district planner for the Kaikoura District Council with an emphasis on managing the council's sustainability programs, including earthcheck, waste management and resource use. Kaikoura District Council is an internationally recognised leader in community sustainability, working at the intersection of sustainability and tourism to both add value to the tourism experience while protecting the small coastal village lifestyle for the community. With 1.8 billion visitors on our doorstep, tourism must embrace sustainable business practices. And Rachel's favourite tourism destination in New Zealand is the Marlborough Sounds. So please welcome Rachel.
Kia ora koutou. Well, that was quite an introduction, and really what I do every day isn't that flash. So what I do want to speak to you about is our sustainable community. Kaikoura, as you may have heard, does strive for sustainability, and today I just want to speak to you a wee bit about that. That journey was started prior to my joining Kaikoura District Council, but the base work continues in what we do today. So I'll just start with running you through who I am. As you can see, we're a small council. I wear many hats. But the point of what I do is we try and work very closely with our community. And if you can take one thing away today, it is that operators do work within a community. You're not in isolation. Do try and get involved in what your council does because it does shape the environment in which you operate. The other point I'd like to make is consultation. If the council is annoying you by consulting in your busy season, pull them up on that because they need to hear what you have to say. So that's my official hat. Now I'll move on to the environmental sustainability that I'm here to talk about. So today I'm going to cover what it means to be sustainable. Why sustainability? Why do we need to be responsible? Why do we need to be mindful of sustainability? And productivity before consumption. You've probably heard the 5 R's around waste management. Reduce is the first one. So it's about reducing consumption. It's about being productive and thinking about the resources that you're consuming, both individually and within your company. So we're going to talk a wee bit about why that's important. So why do I care about sustainability? This is why. And they'd probably kill me if they knew there were all these pictures up of them, but it's about our future. We want our kids to grow up in the kind of world we grew up in because at the end of the day, New Zealand is a cool place and we don't want to ruin it for anyone. And that's why I care about sustainability. I always say if I hadn't married such a grounded person, I'd probably be on the Sea Shepherd saving whales right now. But it is something I'm passionate about and I am passionate about all the things we share this world with. So it's about our future. So I just want to start by challenging your idea of sustainability. A lot of people have a different concept of what sustainability means. So you'll see the top left symbol is probably something we're all familiar with, that sort of recycle the earth, look after the earth type emblem. The next one is the Agenda 21 emblem. Now, some people may know of that. It relates to the basis of the United Nations Earth Programme. So I'll talk to you a wee bit about that further on, but it's just another concept of sustainability you may know about. The third one is this concept of triple bottom line reporting, and you'll know that that was the basis for sustainability in the 90s, a big buzzword about the environment, cultural and economic. So it's another concept that you've probably seen thrown around. Now, the fourth one's something very particular to Kaikoura, and it's something we are very proud of. Recently, we've just had our own marine management bill put through Parliament and the creation of our own marine reserve. Now, that was a result of community collaboration and a lot of stakeholders working together to get an outcome for our ocean environment. So for us, that is what we call sustainability, because that's something that we've achieved as a community, and it's balanced business interests as well as environmental and conservation interests. So for us, that is a symbol of sustainability. So I just want to show you some images that aren't sustainable. I just want to challenge what you think about sustainability. And some of the images might be a bit disturbing, but they are things that are happening within our world today. So this first one is a picture of an albatross chick. Now, this picture was taken in 2009. It's completely undoctored, and it's an albatross chick that lives on a remote atoll in the middle of the South Pacific Ocean. Now, you can see from its gut contents that it's filled with plastic and human detritus. And basically, its parents would soar over the ocean, thousands of miles from any civilization, and pick up these pieces out of the ocean and feed their chicks. Now, there were thousands of chicks that had died a similar way on this remote atoll. So just something to think about, that you might think that the world's finite, but there's impacts miles away from where we live. The second picture, of course, relates to fishing, and I don't want to put anything negative about the fishing industry, but of course that's something that's happening every day. There's waste from industry ending up places where we don't want it to and impacting our wildlife and our natural environment. The third picture is one of water pollution. Now, the one on the left is what's very real in some of our third world countries, some remote deltas, river deltas, where there's no good waste management. It all ends up in the water, and there's people living in it and sorting through it for their existence. The second picture on that slide is one of a very modern society, and it's quite true. There are some waterways near industry that you wouldn't want to touch. The last picture is one of war, and these pictures are from the last Iraqi conflict, and you know very well there's similar things happening now in Iraq, in the Gaza Strip, and I think it's easy to say that's not a sustainable future for anyone in our world. The last picture is one of social inequality, and these pictures were both taken from one country, and you can see there's quite a contrast. There's a picture of subsistence on the right, and on the left is people living quite comfortably and probably excessively. So I just want you to hold those thoughts of sustainability. So just a quick summary of what's wrong with now. So my goal is to leave you with two messages, hope as well as fear. It's an uncomfortable but fundamentally hopeful story, and please bear with me. And I'm sure many of you would have noticed what appears to be an increasing number of signs that something's not right with the world, although precisely what it is very hard to determine. So there's just some stats worldwide on sustainability, so I'll just give you a second to process those. So now some data on tourism. How does this relate to tourism? So in 2012, tourism received its billionth visitor. So I don't know how they counted that or who counted that, but I've been given that stat. By the end of 2014, the Asia-Pacific region alone will see its 1,500th millionth visitor, and by 2030, the world will welcome 1.8 billion international visitors. So with those visitors on our doorstep, tourism must embrace sustainable business practices. As I said, visitation in the Asia-Pacific region is growing rapidly at a rate of around 5% per year, and it's estimated by the end of 2014, the region will become close to 500 million international visitors annually. These visitors bring with them a significant environmental footprint. To give context to my point on water stress and water pollution that's on that slide, information from a white paper on water shows that 75% of countries in the Asia-Pacific region are experiencing water stress. And the quality of potable water is diminishing while demands on the volume used and the costs are increasing. So the white paper I talk about calls on the tourism industry, a heavy user of water, to act fast and to start thinking about consumption. So now I'm going to move on to Kaikoura. Now I've given you enough shock tactics about what's happening in the world. So I'm going to put the question to you once you've seen these slides: is Kaikoura a sustainable destination? So just some history on Kaikoura. We have a rich Māori history. We have archaeological evidence that suggests that Māori settlement was in our district as far back as the 1400s. And they lived there probably quite undisturbed for 600 to 800 years. By the 1860s, we found we had our first whalers, and European settlement quickly followed. It's an unfortunate history, but we know at one stage there were up to 20 whaling stations around the Kaikoura coastline. By the 1950s, fishing and farming were our principal industries in the district, and Kaikoura was on the state highway and the main rail link, and became what we call a T&P stop. So people stopped, they might have bought a pie, a cup of tea, used the facilities and left again. That continued mostly unaffected until the 1980s. By the 1980s, Kaikoura was in this period of economic decline. It was quite black times for the district. Families were moving away. Principal industries had decentralised or become electronic, so there was no need for some of those service industries to exist in Kaikoura. And coupled with that, there was also a low-value commodity market, so fishing and farming wasn't as lucrative as it had been earlier in the century. So this dark economic time continued until about the mid-90s, and you might have seen the BNZ ads that have been on in the past. So the birth of the Kaikoura ecotourism industry began with the whale watch industry, and the story becomes quite a nice story. Kaikoura became a tourism destination, and from there grew really, really quickly through the 1990s. And that's thanks to the birth of the whale watch industry and then all the other ecotourism activities that followed. So just to give you some stats on the fact that Kaikoura did become a visitor destination in the 1990s, you can see the contrast between some figures collected from 2012. So very quickly following the birth of ecotourism, all the other service industries sprung up, and Kaikoura grew very, very quickly. So what do people come and see? So our natural environment, we've got great mountains that climb up to 2,800 metres high. Just half a kilometre off the coast, we've got a wonderful deep sea canyon, which is 1,200 metres deep. And that's a home to our marine mammals, all the food that depends, that brings the marine mammals and makes them resident to our district. We can thank the Kaikoura Canyon for providing that. We've also got very rich ocean currents that flow through the area. So you can see we've got other resident species that are not going anywhere and very popular with the visitor market. So what do visitors in the community want? We went out and spoke to the community. We do visitor surveys, and these are the things that they said they wanted. So we've got this small coastal town atmosphere. We've got access to the marine mammals. People really enjoy our friendly local residents, so we rate that as quite an important factor in our destination management. You can see the other things are things that operators told us that they want to see, but none of this at the expense of our natural environment, and that's the crux of the growth in Kaikoura. So just back to our history, in 1996, a crisis point was reached for our community. So there were increased visitors. We were riding this wave of economic growth thanks to the tourism industry, but we had this huge impact on the infrastructure. We were a little coastal town. We only had about 5,000 residents, so of course visitors bring impacts. We think our population at least doubles in the peak season, so with that, that's going to bring impacts. Now you might remember that a council's job, amongst other things, is to provide that basic infrastructure for a community. So we looked at the need for infrastructure provision and panicked. You can imagine the councils feeling, holy hell, where are we going to get the money from to upgrade all this infrastructure? And we don't want impacts on our natural environment. Of course, if we're going to keep bringing people in, we need to make sure we're retaining what we've got. So that was a real crisis point for the community. So what did the council do? So the council started looking around for a program to follow to help them on this path to reducing the environmental impacts that they knew the visitor industry was having on the community, and also to think about providing that basic infrastructure so people weren't coming to a very degraded environment, that things were managed. So in November 2000, the council decided to adopt a principle for sustainable management. Now, I talked very briefly about the Agenda 21 at the start of my talk. The principles of Agenda 21 form the basis of the United Nations Earth Programme, and are the principles that Kaikoura District Council adopted in November 2000. The Kaikoura District Council also went out to the community, and they developed this vision for the community. They held a very special week where operators could come and showcase what they had, but also they used it as a consultation event. Now, this vision is what came out of that event, and it was a vision that the operators, the general public, and the community wanted to look forward to for our community growth. So I'll just give you a moment to read that. So with that vision, Kaikoura started moving towards sustainability. So they found a program called EarthCheck. Now, EarthCheck's a private program that came out of the very first United Nations Earth Programme meeting. It was a private program, but it was tailored for the tourism and travel industry because it recognised that the tourism and travel industry has high impacts worldwide, not just in Kaikoura. So they developed a program that communities and operators could use to move forward with sustainability. So that's the EarthCheck emblem. So just a bit of marketing there for EarthCheck. So what's EarthCheck done for Kaikoura? So for Kaikoura, it means we can walk the talk for sustainability. We've got 14 years of environmental data that show that we're improving our environmental impact. It also gives us an umbrella for our other environmental programs. So everything we do, we operate under an EarthCheck umbrella, and all our programs feed into improving that environmental data. So there are some of the many programs we've got in place that help improve our indicators when we're collecting that environmental data. So you can see it goes across our whole district. There's freshwater management, there's waste management, there's things like parks and reserves, there's what people experience, right down to working with businesses on how they manage their paper use. So how does EarthCheck work? Well, it starts with identifying where you want to go, collecting that data, which is the first step called benchmarking, or step 2 in that slide, and then it works towards environmental certification. So it shows that you're complying with their requirements, with any national laws, with any other requirements, then it's embedding sustainability across your organisation. So what indicators do we measure? So you can see on the left there, there's 10 indicators that we collect information on, and that gives us a snapshot every year of how we're doing as a community. So these are community-wide indicators. They're not council indicators, they're not operator indicators. They're collected for our whole community. And we believe that's what lets us say we are a sustainable community. We do collect that data to show how our whole community's doing. On your right, you can see we've chosen 2 optional indicators. One is the social indicators, so the health and wellbeing of our Kaikoura community. And the second one is monitoring and preventing truck accidents on our state highway. Now that's because when we first started on this journey, there was a truck accident on our highway where rat poison got into our coastal environment. And of course, that wasn't acceptable for us as a community, and also had impacts for many years after. So that's something we're working very hard to prevent, is any impact from that state highway network on our environment. And you can imagine the state highway network's very important for us to bring visitors to our district, but there's a downside of it too. So that's something we choose to manage as well. So just some facts and figures on how we're doing. These are very stylised graphs, but from the start of collecting this data, our landfill waste has, we used to recycle 15% of our waste. Now we recycle 75%. So just to put that in perspective, imagine a big black rubbish bag. 3/4 of that we managed to divert away from the landfill. So only a little bit goes into our landfill now. We're very proud of that figure. Urban water use. We've reduced urban water use by 1/3. That means that we've not had to invest in costly upgrades of our water supply, but it also saves operators money because, of course, water costs money, and the more water we're pumping for consumption, the higher rates will be. So if we can reduce that right at the source, then it's better for our whole community. Waterway quality. We've heard a lot about waterway quality today. This is one of the things that actually prevented Kaikoura being certified earlier. We weren't certified under the Earth Check program until 2004, but we started on the journey in 1999. The reason being our waterways weren't clean enough for us to hold our head up in terms of being sustainable. So this is something we're really proud of, and it's another thing that we work across the whole community on. Obviously, it's a collaboration to achieve good waterway quality. Oops, what happened there? Just go back. Okay, so Earth Check, what it's done for us. There's this perception that New Zealand is 100% pure green. For us, we're making it a reality. We're not just green around the edges, we are walking the talk in terms of sustainability. So our sustainability journey. The arrow depicts the path to sustainability. So Kaikoura has developed from a community collecting data to a community that is developing a green economy. You can see the headings that tools and reporting principles have also developed over time. Over the same period, consumer or visitor awareness has changed. Green tourism used to be the right thing to do, so that's why we did it. Now research shows that people are looking for experiences when they visit a destination, not just to see that we're ticking the boxes. So now I'm just going to run through very quickly, because I'm running out of time, Kaikoura's business case for sustainability. So you've seen why we did it. We reached this crisis point. We wanted to move forward in a better way. But let's just for a moment examine what Kaikoura's biggest asset is. And it is for us our natural environment. So how do we value a natural environment in an economy? Of course, it's very, very hard on the balance sheet to show that we do have a contribution from the natural environment. But just to put it into perspective, there's things that our natural environment gives us that we couldn't buy. So for us, our environment provides clean water, clean air, habitats, and that's a really, really important point. Our whole tourism industry has depended very much for many years on the habitats of marine mammals. If we degrade those, then we haven't got a product. And that's the bottom line for us in terms of what we're providing for a visitor experience. Places and playgrounds. I've talked about the Seaward Kaikoura Ranges, the high mountains we've got behind our town. They're provided naturally. They don't cost us anything. All we've got to do is make sure we don't ruin them. The species. The amount of sea species that we've got on our coastline is just amazing. And we depend on that not only for the commercial fishing industry, but a big part of our visitor experience is being able to go and catch a fish, and that's provided for free. So that links into my last point, which is seafood. So not everyone wants to go and catch it, but they do want to come and eat it. So of course crayfish is a huge draw card for us. The other advantages for sustainability. I talked about a friendly local community. So the social capital contribution to the tourism industry can't be measured. We want happy people, we want jobs for people, we want a prosperous community. So that, for us, links into sustainability. Social media and publicity for sustainability. I'll just give you a small example of some of the journalists we host who come for our sustainability experience. 2 years ago, we hosted a journalist from the Sydney Morning Herald. Now, the Sydney Morning Herald has a reach of 5.3 million people. The cost to buy the equivalent advertising would have been $84,000. We got it for the cost of hosting the journalist for 5 days at a cost of $500 a day. And what she wanted to write about was Kaikoura's sustainability and having that sustainability experience. So there's a lot of advantages. Of course, there's reduced operating costs, less paper, less electricity, reduced fuel costs, less waste disposal, less electricity for water pumping, the list goes on. We've managed to put off building a new landfill. Now, you know landfills cost several $1 million. I'm sure some of you have had in your community landfills built. We've extended the life of ours by reducing our waste reduction. And the list goes on. So I'll just leave you with this quote from Christopher Gleadle. Now, this man is an economist, not an environmentalist. So I'll just leave you with that. Thank you.